All right, welcome to another episode of the LogiCast. My name is Blankakong. I'm joined by Mr. Esoteric Skills and Gunnar Eos, and today, or this week, we're going to be doing a tier list for all of the Nintendo consoles, all the major Nintendo consoles in history, starting from the NES and the Game Boy all the way to the Nintendo Switch. So, I think the best way to do this would be in chronological order, starting from oldest console to the latest console. So that would leave us with the NES, the OG, the old boy. I think he sits right up here in A tier. Personally, this is what started it off. A lot of great games on it. What do you guys think?
So I came late, kind of late. Not really. TLDR, I didn't really play the original Nintendo. I came in around SNES, so I don't have much first-hand experience with the NES. But I've heard that there are some great classic titles on the NES, like obviously, Zelda. I believe Metroid started on the NES.
Correct.
Obviously Mario, like the OG. So I don't have enough personal information for this one, but based on the anecdotal evidence I've heard from you guys and the internet as a whole, I think A is good. Some people would say S, but I think I agree with A because again, I don't have first-hand experience with this Nintendo console. So me personally, knowing what I know, I agree on the A part.
I
Esoteric?
am somewhat conflicted because I feel like it's either between S and A tier because the NES I have fortunately I had quite a long term period of like experience with this console. I was fortunate enough to have siblings who are older and acquired this console for me, which was, by the way, the console is older than me. But this console is a juggernaut in my opinion. You know, it with all the game franchises you mentioned, it started on this console. Again, you had Zelda, you had Mario. Um, you've even had games such as the Castlevania series that started on this. You had the first Castlevania, Simon's Quest, and you had Castlevania 3. A lot of trilogies was on this game, as a matter of fact, on this console. You had Mario 1, 2, and 3. Uh, you had the Ninja Turtle games. And they also had some obscure titles as well, like you had Karate Kid. I think you also had like Mega Man 1 through 6, I
Correct.
believe. You had Mega Man 1 through 6. So this console was a juggernaut. And what I really love about this is that it started a lot of these game titles, and they're still alive today. Like they're still making games today. Aside from Castlevania, but all the other ones I mentioned, you have Tears of the Kingdom, you have Super Mario Odyssey, a new Ninja Turtles game is in the works. They recently, I would say, few years ago, maybe slightly longer, they had a Mega Man game, or the remakes are coming out for these games. So, Metroid Dread was another recent title. So you had a lot of well-known titles that came from the NES, and you also had uh, a couple of like third-party titles as well, Metal Gear as well. So I'm conflicted because although the technology components are they're not superior than any of the other consoles that we're going to mention shortly, but it definitely solidified all the other titles because it initially had these games on them, and they're continuing to be produced on to later consoles as well. I can even argue the point that a lot of remakes that are being made on some of these future Nintendo consoles were ported from the NES. So you had Super Mario All Stars, which was on the SNES. and it pretty much just fluffed up the graphics of Super Mario 1, 2, and 3 and added it to the SNES and made it look better. So I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna give the NES its flowers and say it's S tier in my opinion, just based on what it contributed to us.
If you haven't noticed, I moved it to S tier like 2 minutes ago because it's like, A tier. It felt like I was also conflicted, but I didn't want to start off too strong. So I was like, all right, let's put it in A tier and kind of let's talk about it. But like as you were mentioning some titles, more titles kind of came to mind. Like first 6 Mega Man games, DuckTales was amazing.
Yes.
Like a lot of the Disney titles that were developed by Capcom on this machine were like super great games. Zelda, the first 3 Mario games, Metroid, all the Donkey Kong games. Like before Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong had like his own games where you played as Jumpman or whatever, and there were like different mini games and stuff.
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man was on Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. I don't know if she was. No, she was never on NES. I don't think. I think it was just like OG Pac-Man. I could be wrong.
Yeah, OG Pac-Man. I remember because it came with it was a weird black cartridge, and it didn't. The form factor was completely different from the later ones that came out, which I remember. And also, I would like to add that the NES set trends for certain games. Like the first 2 Zeldas were gold cartridges, and then they later kept that trend going with like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and so on and so forth. So,
side note, it's really sad that they didn't do that with like the Switch Zelda games.
Nope.
I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity, but anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true.
But yeah, the NES had the Batman games were really the one Batman game that was on here was really good. The Ninja Turtles games were really good. Battletoads, Double Dragon, like there was a lot of good shit on NES. Yeah,
those games was really fucking hard. Like I still have nightmares about trying to disarm bombs in the Ninja Turtles game underwater and shit. It was really nerve wracking. And let me not get started on the Battletoads where you're doing the hoverboard stage and you got to dodge all the goddamn freaking pillars that are coming towards you. Like that shit was hard, but I gotta give it to NES, man. S tier for me.
Yeah. And then you mentioned Castlevania. I was like, oh yeah. First 3 Castlevania games, obviously S tier. Like, what are we even talking about anymore? So, yeah, NES original S tier, 100%. So what does that leave the original Game Boy?
Oh goodness. Once again, this one I had a little bit more experience because I had one in my house. Back then I was a kid, so whatever my father had, he was the one that bought these games. Whatever he had is whatever I had access to. I remember the Game Boy was my first. Actually, was it? Yeah, it was my first introduction to Zelda because I played Link's Awakening on the GBA. I mean, at the time it was kind of mind-blowing because one of the first portable consoles. There wasn't really such a thing as portable consoles. I mean, it needed 4 batteries to run the damn thing. It had no backlight, and it lasted maybe 6 hours on a good day. That might be a little disingenuous, but I mean, it was great for the time, and it got me into Zelda. So based on that, my personal history with the machine, I think it's great where it is right now. Because it was a portable console, it worked. It was portable in the sense that you could take it with you, unlike games down the line like Game Gear and whatnot that were fucking this huge, massive piece of plastic. And again, minus Zelda, I know there was a bunch of really good GBA games on it. So I say A, personally.
Well, you keep saying GBA games. You mean just Game Boy games?
Sorry,
right?
GB.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Go ahead, Esoteric. I want to hear what you got to say.
Man, again, this is another console where I'm like, I feel like honestly, there's going to be a shit ton of S and A tiers within this this lineup.
I got a feeling.
Like I just feel, again, the same conflicted feeling applies with the Game Boy. It was like one of the first starts at a portable console. And I feel like for its time, it did the job effectively. It didn't have a backlight, which really sucked. And then its successor, the Game Boy Color, didn't have a backlight as well, but you were able to add attachments to it with the worm light or whatever. But again, the titles, man, the titles. You had Super Mario Land. You had Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. Wario was introduced.
See, this guy knows more. I just like it had Zelda on it. That's all I know.
Yeah, you had Metroid Return of Samus on there. You had
Pokemon Red and Blue.
You had Pokemon Red and Blue. You had Donkey Kong Land. Like, you had a lot of shit. You had Mega Man games. You had Castlevania games. Like, the list goes on and on and on. Like, this was also
No, 100%. The Game Boy library is massive. It's massive, and it's high quality stuff. And it's actually different. Like you mentioned, Mega Man. Like the Mega Man games on the Game Boy, and then the ones on NES, they're the same games in title, and in a lot of functions they're the same. But because they had to water the game down to work on this device, they had to change it. So like it was almost like a different experience playing Mega Man 1 through 5, because I don't think did 6 get a Game Boy. I don't think 6 got a Game Boy one. I remember playing 1 through 5 for sure on Game Boy, and those were they weren't radically different, but they were different enough to where it felt like I was playing a different game compared to the NES counterpart. So I agree. However, I'm just gonna kind of not skip ahead, but kind of because these are kind of tied together. Game Boy Color is S, and then Game Boy Pocket would be above the original Game Boy, only because it's a more comfortable console, plays the same games, and requires less batteries.
We never got in the US, right? Or did we get?
No, we did.
We got Pocket. We got
we got Pocket, which happened to be my first one, and I had it in green. And I think in Europe and in the PAL region, they got Game Boy Light. That's what they called it.
Wow, there we go. It had a backlight. Yeah.
So, would you disagree? Because Game Boy Color has all the Game Boy Color games plus all the Game Boy games, so that would automatically make it a better console. Plus, it had the color feature, and it had more attachments. But then the Pocket, I feel like, is a stronger version of the Game Boy. So it would be in the same bracket, but still.
This is going to be a little weird until we get past the 90s, because I think the SP would be S tier too, because it could do all of them.
Wait,
the
could play.
Well, I haven't gotten to Game Boy Advance yet. I'm keeping it separate.
Okay.
But,
okay. I will agree with this notion simply because the Game Boy Color, in terms of the only thing that separates the Game Boy Color from the other two is the fact that it was a newer the hardware essentially, because if I'm not mistaken, you were able to play Game Boy Color games on the predecessors. You just didn't have the color factor.
No.
There were certain games that were only playable on Game Boy Color.
Yes, you would get a funny little message. They would tell you this game is not compatible, and Donkey Kong would laugh at you. But that's about it. It didn't work.
You guys are absolutely right. I think what it was that kind of got me was because they had Zelda DX, Link's Awakening, which was playable on both, but it was originally a Game Boy Color.
That was an exception to the rule.
Okay.
Games like there was a Donkey Kong game that was specifically for color, and then Shantae was a Game Boy Color game. And they had a weird clear cartridge that was different from the original.
Yeah, I had a Bionic Commando that was for
GBA.
Yes. There was original Bionic Commando, and then there was Bionic Commando
rearmed,
some shit like that, and he looked kind of different. The art style was really different. That was Game Boy Color specifically. Yeah. So
that makes sense. That makes sense. Because the thing was, there were certain exceptions because you had and I guess what indicated it was the enclosure, the cartridge, and how it was clear, because Wario Land 2 was it was titled as a Game Boy Color game. However, you was able to play it on regular Game Boy. Um, yes, yeah, that was the one with the
Wario 2 was the black cartridge. Yeah, so
yes.
mhm. But that
So it
was in
had
the shape of a normal cartridge. Like the Game Boy Color ones had like the top part. The
It was
Game Boy
protruding
games
a little
were
bit.
the Game Boy
It was
games
like a bubble
were
effect. Yeah, it
curved
felt like,
in,
yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
Game Boy Color games were like what's that called? Convex, where it's like over or
Yeah,
like protrudes forward. Yeah, so like that's how you could tell.
that makes sense. And here's the thing, though. I guess what kind of made me think that it was backwards compatible, because as the console, as Game Boy Color was producing Game Boy Color exclusive games, again, you had Wario Land, you had the Pokemon trading card game. So I guess
Mm,
all the black cartridges, because I'm not Game Boy. Trading card game was also a black cartridge. So was
correct.
Zelda
Yeah,
DX. So they were backwards compatible. So I guess that's how they indicated it.
I
But
guess those are like cross-gen Game Boy
Yeah,
games,
what
which
would
is
be
kind of
considered
weird.
cross-gen now, yeah.
yeah,
Thinking back now, I'm like, wow, I never really realized that. But yeah, pretty cool.
yeah. But to answer your question, this is a good selection. The Game Boy Color was definitely far superior than the other two, um, in mostly hardware, and I would say I can't even say I can't say games, because they were equivalent and it was backwards compatible. So yeah, that's it's a good the way you have it placed is good.
Okay, so let's stop playing. Super Nintendo, top of S tier, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
there's no argument about that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, this
Super
one had
Nintendo,
way more.
I think is the greatest, either either equal to or behind the PS2. I think is the greatest console ever created.
Damn, that's some high praise.
Super Nintendo
I
is
don't.
amazing.
It was.
Man, I wish I was my age now when this. Maybe not. Maybe I take that back. But I wish I had like the ability to just purchase games, because once again, SNES for me was if my dad had it, that's what I had, and he had Link to the Past, which is my favorite Zelda game, and it is on the SNES. It's in so yeah. I mean, I rated S simply because of that. But speaking, broadly, it was another one that had a bunch of great lineups. I remember playing a DC a Justice League fighting game on it. Fucking NBA Jam. I'll never play a fucking NBA game, but I played the shit out of NBA Jam.
Yep.
Like, I was like, oh, well, Michael Jordan, I know that guy from the Space Jam movie, right? Okay, I'll play him. So I was like, yeah, I can agree with this one. Yeah, solid king of the S tier bracket.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. I mean, this
All
was the
right,
first time
down it goes, D tier.
oh hell no. Oh hell no. Blasphemy. Listen, this was the first console that I've played that introduced me to shoulder buttons and an extra two set of buttons. So, I mean, let me kind of like roll it back. So,
Go for
me
it.
and my brother had like a console war. So, my grandmother got me the Sega Genesis, and she got him, which he's relatively older. He got him the Super Nintendo, and he used to shit on me. He was like, "Sonic sucks. It's trash." Mind you, I must say the Sega Genesis had a decent library. I mean,
They
they
had a
had
great
Cool Spot.
library.
Yeah, like it was a phenomenal library. They had Comic Zone, they had Vector Man, they had Earthworm Jim. Their Mortal Kombat game was better because it had blood in it. Like they had a lot of stuff, but you know, the Nintendo, I saw myself moving more towards, because they had games like again, Link to the Past. They had Battletoads and Double Dragon. They had Super Ghouls and Ghosts. They had my favorite Castlevania, Super Castlevania 4. Like Donkey Kong Country came out, and that game was fucking incredible. Like, and then just when I thought it couldn't get any better, Diddy Kong's Quest, that shit was amazing. Like, I mean, oh my god, they had
Don't mention Donkey Kong 3 because I'll unfriend you.
I mean, I liked it, but I didn't. It wasn't nowhere near.
Keep moving. No. Diddy Kong's Quest. That was the top. Yeah, that was the last one on Super Nintendo. Yeah.
Then you had Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. Then you had I think it was the Turtles in Time. Like the list, Mario Kart. The list goes on and on and on. Super Mario.
Mega Man fucking X, bro.
Oh yeah, Mega Man X. Mario RPG. Like, man, I'm just over here gushing just thinking about it. Like,
and that's all the main stuff that like most people know about. Then there's like hidden gems like Sky Blazer and what else was on there? Arc Riser, like the games that are like kind of hidden gems that are really good that were only on the Super Nintendo. This console is just like it's
Final Fantasy 2 and 3, which was I think 4 and 5 in Japan. Like they I'm done. It's just S tier.
Super Nintendo is it's called the Super Nintendo for a reason. It is S tier 100%. I think it is definitely in the top 3 greatest consoles of all time, right next to the PS2. I think the PS2 is probably the greatest console in history. And I think Super Nintendo is like a really close second. And that's not a shot at Super Nintendo. I just think, PS2, like when you compare if you compare them side to side, right, in terms of like game libraries, like I think PS2 ekes it out, but Super Nintendo was like really strong, really good console, and all the games have aged well.
Yes,
I think it's just one of the best like creations Nintendo has made, and that's a high bar because Nintendo makes a lot of good shit. So
yeah,
now. This is going to be a controversial take. N64 B tier.
It's not controversial with me. I think it's right where it belongs.
I would absolutely agree.
Really? No pushback? Wow, no. I can't believe that.
No pushback. I think a lot of the titles on the 64 kind of took a decline. I mean, yes, you solidified the 3D graphics, but when Castlevania got to the console, it sucked. Mario 64 was good. Mario Kart was great, but
Mario 64 was no. You can't just say that. I can't let you do that. Mario 64 is probably the greatest 3D platformer in platformer history. It set the tone for 3D platformers, and it is still very playable today. It has aged very well.
Yeah.
Mario 64
it established a lot of stuff for 3D gaming in general.
Mario 64 is true. Mario 64 deserves it made this console. So let's
it did, but I would not
But that's the only game on the console. Let's be real.
I don't
Mario Kart and Mario 64.
Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time.
Majora's Mask.
I'm sorry.
You had Super Bomberman. I'm sorry, not Super Bomberman. You had Bomberman Heroes.
I'm gonna make a lot of enemies this episode. Shit.
you had Glover.
But that was it. Yeah, like after that, you're like, it had Glover.
We scrape it. We scrape at the bottom of the barrel here.
I mean,
Glover.
For me, it had Winback. I love Winback, but I'm not gonna say, Winback is a system seller. It suffered a lot of like third-party stuff because at the time, people were going to like the Sega and the PlayStation.
Mostly PlayStation. PlayStation was crushing it at this time.
CDs. That was like, oh, we could do so much more with CDs now. And Nintendo was like, but a cartridge though. So they were like at a weird time where they didn't wanna join the modern era. So obviously their games and what was able to be done on their games suffered. Their first party stuff, obviously they know the system intimately, so they can make a game like Ocarina of Time and knock it out the park. But as we'll see with some other Nintendo systems on this list, the third party support just wasn't there for them. So the N64 suffered. I know a good comparison is Resident Evil 2 was also on the N64,
Yeah.
but the PlayStation version was just so superior. It's like, why play it on the 64
And
unless you own it?
and to add to your point, Gunnar, I think what also shot the 64 in the foot, because this is also a conflicted thing between it being B and A tier, because some of the hardware was amazing. Like it introduced the Rumble Pack with Star Fox, where the first Rumble.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Then
yeah.
it introduced
four player controls too.
Yeah, 4-player controls. But what was shot, and then it also it also gave us the expansion pack to kind of bump up the graphics. I think it was introduced with Donkey Kong 64.
Correct.
But that game was garbage in my opinion. I liked it as a kid. But
I never played it, and I want to. And I don't think the game is
like it.
I may not because listen, okay. Let me, because I know the N64 guys on the. If anybody's listening to this and they're N64 fan, they're fuming right now if I don't name some of the other games. Okay, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie,
great.
All the wrestling games are amazing. N64 is a solid console. However, when you compare it to the Super Nintendo, they lost a lot of footing, in my opinion. And then when you compare it to the PlayStation, which is its time frame, equivalent. It does miss the mark on a lot of different areas, a lot of key areas, in my opinion. So, the N64 is amazing, but it is amongst the Nintendo console lineup. I think it falls mid tier.
No, I can agree with that, and I think another thing that shot them in the foot was they're experimenting with the controller. Like, it's a very weird controller. I do appreciate the analog stick, because at that time the PlayStation didn't think about that. Their controllers they had the analog.
The middle of my palms are still burning.
Yeah,
from
that analog
Mario
stick
Party.
tore my hand up.
So,
yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. That's their thing, right? They love to experiment, and they love to keep things profitable, like not profitable, but sustainable for families and stuff to be able to buy and whatnot. But compared to what we have as of right now, I would say B tier, arguably maybe A tier, but it would be behind Game Boy.
I can concede to a low A tier. Because the gaming library, the good stuff that Nintendo N64 has is really good, right? Yeah. WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy, the WCW wrestling games, right?
GoldenEye.
Oh, how did I forget GoldenEye? GoldenEye.
Turok.
Duke Nukem, Turok. Yeah, they had good shit, but like it stops there, right? And then the ports, Fighting Force 64, Mega Man Legends 64, Resident Evil 2. Those are all. They all pale in comparison to their PlayStation counterparts. Pokemon Stadium, I forgot about that. Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. Like, they have good shit. Hey, you Pikachu. I'm kidding. That game sucked.
Pokemon
Snap. Yeah. I love Pokemon Snap.
Again, but this is mostly their first party stuff.
Yeah,
and
it's
rare.
first party. Yeah.
So, Anyway, I'll okay, low A tier. I think that's fair. I think
that is fair.
I think low A tier. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. For those N64 fans who are like fuming, I'm sorry. We got here A tier. Okay, I think that's fair. We met you in the middle. So, let's get this out the way. Virtual Boy D tier, right? Like, let's not even.
Yeah, I rented this shit from Blockbuster. Nobody's gonna know that except like people our age. But thank God I did, because that was like a weekend. It's like, shit, this is what we got for the weekend. Fuck.
Was that the shit where I've never played it? I've only like heard about it, but is that where you only see red and like?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was their first attempt at 3D. I mean, valiant effort, I guess, but I
think the only good game it had on there was the Wario game. I think there was like a good Wario game on here, but that's it.
You had like Mario Tennis, a Wario game, a boxing game that was in the same vein of Punch Out.
Okay.
The only game I'd be interested is a Shimigami game, kind of like a spin-off, but that was Japanese only, so it never came to the West. But yeah, no.
The way you guys describe it, it probably hurts your eyes and shit.
Oh, it gave me a headache. I could only play it for like maybe 20 minutes.
Well, when I was growing up, I was only allowed to play for like an hour or so.
Like not only that, you had to have a whole setup. You had to have a table or like a flat surface because you had to lean in and basically wear them like goggles because they were goggles. This thing was not portable. You're not walking around with this shit. No, you're not. And the controller was kind of like not flimsy, but it just was not. When you compare it to like the SNES controller, it just wasn't even on the same level. It was really small, so people who had really big digits couldn't really manipulate it well. It was just not their shining moment. Really wasn't. I think it's fine where it is. I don't think any Vita fans are gonna come after us. For
Yeah,
this
I don't think there's any Virtual Boy like.
Sorry,
I doubt
Virtual
it.
Boy. Ooh, that's another dead system. My bad.
Yeah, I was like Vita.
The other dead
That's
system.
the other tier list.
The jabs.
I mean, it is dead.
It is.
Yeah, that it's fine where it belongs. That's its home.
All right, so next up would be the Nintendo GameCube.
This
one, I feel like it's back here somewhere, right?
Personally, it's a B. I don't think you can like me personally. Okay, so I don't think it could be A because again, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, I get it. First party, great. Mario
Luigi's
Parties,
Mansion,
Twilight Princess,
the last F-Zero game. There was some good shit on here.
Yeah, but it was originally on the GameCube. Give it to the I'll give it to the GameCube. Wind Waker is another one of my favorite Zelda games.
4.
Resident Evil 4 started on the game, but it's like it faces a similar situation to the N64, but in my opinion worse because there just wasn't a lot for it. And what came out was just so far and few in between. And again, Nintendo wanted to be different. Now everybody's using DVD. We're on the PS2, the 360. And what does Nintendo want to do? We want to use these micro disc things that nobody uses. I didn't even know it was a thing in the industry until Nintendo came out with it. It's like, bruh, what is this? What is these tiny discs?
Yeah, but I think the GameCube, in the current state, right? A lot of GameCube's best games are either available on newer consoles, newer hardware, or maybe with the exception of like Smash Brothers Melee, everything else is available elsewhere. Like the original Resident Evil remake was on this, which I think is the best Resident Evil game ever, and we've established that in our Resident Evil tier list. Right, this also had the ports. This has the best version of original Resident Evil 2
and
original
Resident Evil
3. Sure, okay, that's a thing. But these games are also available on other consoles now, PS4, PS5, etc. So it's like, like it lost its luster over time.
Right.
So for me, it was an A tier, and it kind of slips into a B tier because of that fact.
I don't think that's fair. Simply because for the system to be launched at the time that it was, like, I don't think we should include what current gen systems have that this started with. I think that's a little unfair.
Okay, so if you want to eliminate that, I think you can. If you had the setup, right, you had the TV and the system, you can go back and play an SNES and have a way better time than if you went and played a GameCube with the same setup, simply because of what it has to offer.
That's true. I would definitely have more of a fun time and more variety. But I must say, with the GameCube, for the games that they did provide us, like they were pretty innovative. They were pretty good. Like I must say, for some of the games, I thought that they were going to be ass. And mind you, this is me at my teenager mindset, or maybe a little younger. I'm not sure. But honestly, I didn't think that Wind Waker I was gonna have as much fun as I did, because I didn't like the little cutesy cell shaded graphics. But take that away, I grew to love it, and it was a phenomenal system. It took most of the components that Wind Waker had and added it to Twilight Princess and even the the current Tears of the Kingdom with picking up weapons and utilizing that and so on and so forth. And another game I didn't think was going to do well was Metroid Prime. Like, I was so accustomed to Metroid being a two-dimensional runner platform game, and Metroid Prime just blew me away. Like,
Well, yeah, it also had Smash Brothers Melee, which people consider the best Smash Brothers known to man. So,
yeah, I mean, for what they did, it was pretty good. I don't know. I see, the thing is with these consoles is that I'm super conflicted because they all gave something that kind of raised the bar. But the issue with Nintendo is that they do proprietary shit that puts them back. It's like the N64 needed more third-party support. The GameCube needed more third-party support. And what killed them is the fact that the way that they create their systems and make them so like non-universal as opposed to their competition like the Xbox and Sony.
yeah,
They lacked the third-party support.
that's why for me it's a B, because I'm trying to look at it from like the whole rather than the small. Like the first party titles are great. You can't deny that, but as far as the entirety of the GameCube's lifespan, now that we have the ability to see, okay, this is how long it lasted and this is what it did, it just, again, compared to the SNES and the NES and the Game Boy, it didn't have enough. It just didn't have enough. So I think B, personally. That's,
I'm partial to B as well, but like if we have to compare the two, like which one was better? Me N64.
The 64 was better.
Okay.
I would say that simply because of like they had a arguably a stronger library, and
because not for nothing, excuse me, this also had some of the best wrestling games on there. GameCube, Dave Reckoning,
yeah.
Right? Like this had some good shit on there. So, I'm not. GameCube wasn't a terrible console, but the lack of third party support really held it back.
Yeah, I love my lunchbox.
I mean, I use this shit as a Phantasy Star machine. This had Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2, and that shit was great. But,
yeah,
I mean, that's just one game, though.
Tales of Symphonia, Batten Kaitos. They had games, but again, they didn't have much third-party support, which kind of hindered it overall.
I'm okay with leaving it in A, but behind N64, because I think these two systems occupy the same space.
I can
agree
with that.
All right, so now that that's set, Game Boy Advanced, original Game Boy Advance, because wherever this lands, SP is going to be above it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man.
Damn, this is so tough. I told you it's gonna be a lot of A's and S's here, man.
I'm
trying to think objectively, where it's like, because a lot of these consoles we experienced as kids, as like teenagers, young adolescents, and I'm trying to not.
So this is me right here.
I'll let Esoteric go. I'll let Esoteric go first. Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, you did the right thing.
I'm just gonna do that, and let's talk about it.
You did the right thing. Okay.
So wait, why is the Game Boy Advance so far behind though?
Okay, you want to go or you?
It's just aside from the backlight, because they oh well, it didn't have the backwards compatibility either.
Dude, rechargeable. The first console that you could charge, no batteries were required. Backlight, the foldable design, better sound quality, more comfortable to hold, easier to carry around. The Game Boy Advance SP was fucking godlike and gave birth, and it was the prototype to the Nintendo DS. So
and don't make me bust out. I got the games right next to me. I can bust out some of like the really good GBA games.
I could put GBA back here, right? Because it has the same game library, but like from a hardware perspective, SP is like god tier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just asking.
So I could do this. I could do this, right? I think this is fair to meet you in the middle.
Okay, so hardware wise, yes, it's definitely far superior. Now, game wise, What do we?
Okay, we got
I
Golden
mean,
Sun,
shit.
Golden
Oh
Sun
yeah, yeah,
2,
yeah. Yes.
Advance Wars, Advance Wars 2. It had it had Breath of Fire 2 on it. It had I'm physically holding, for those that can't see us, I'm physically holding these games currently. I'm
The
that
Final
old.
Fantasy series.
Final Fantasy 1 through 6.
Mm-hmm.
Castlevania, Harmony of Dissonance.
Yes. Aria of
Ca-
Sorrow.
Castlevania, yep. And the Castle of the Moon, and then Aria of Sorrow, all the Final Fantasies, all the Battle Network games. Come on now. Pokemon,
Greatest
Ruby
Pokemon
Sapphire.
game, Emerald.
Yes.
Like-
GBA.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
GBA is S tier, and the GBA is A, and the SP is S tier because of all the like the quality of life features that it provided. When we found out it had a rechargeable battery, it blew my tiny mind. It's like, you mean I don't have to, for Christmas get a pack of batteries, and that's a Christmas gift? Like, and it's so, like, you don't have to throw shit in the freezer and try to preserve life.
Yeah, I remember those days. Oh God, I remember those days.
You go to a friend's house and it's just like, bro, you have an electrical socket? Cool, we're playing the SP.
No, I get it. I don't have any like arguments there. I was just asking because I wanted to know, like, okay, why are we making the Advance so far behind? But based on hardware alone, I get it. Now, my question would be, do you think the Game Boy Advance library outshines the Game Boy and Game Boy Color? Because if it does, then should it be bumped up a bit? Like, shouldn't it be, or are we just solely speaking from hardware perspective?
It's kind of a mixed bag. So the Game Boy Advance SP is, up until this point, it is the most advanced Game Boy, period, right? Because
Yes.
after this is DS, which is kind of like a new era.
Mhm.
The Game Boy Advance SP can also play all the GBA games, or all the GB games. So it's like, it's kind of like Ultimate Super
Gotcha.
Saiyan. Like, it's like the top. It's like,
Got you.
so like for me, it's like it has to be at the top of the list
Yeah,
because it has
like,
access to everything.
Yeah, if you had an SP, you literally had access to the entirety of the Game Boy line's titles.
So it played color too. I don't remember that though. I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Because I thought it was
Um,
only just Game Boy Advance, and I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember, honestly, because I had like cousins who had like. So I'll just preface this by saying I never experienced the full glory of the SP. I had family who owned it, but I didn't own one myself. I had the cool blue, like see-through Game Boy Advance. So I never experienced the glory that is the SP, aside from utilizing family members' consoles. But I didn't remember it being backwards compatible. I don't know.
I knew for Game Boy, yeah, I'm pretty
I
confident.
didn't think it was Game Boy Color. I don't know if it was Game Boy Color.
I'm pretty sure it could play Game Boy Color because I remember playing the Donkey Kong game that was Game Boy Color on the SP. I'm like 99% sure.
But wasn't that the yellow cartridge, which kind of falls into like?
Nah, it's the clear cartridge. It's the clear cartridge with the protruding Game Boy Color logo at the top, and it has DK like on vines in the front. I think it was Donkey Kong Country on the Game Boy Color because the ones on Game Boy were Donkey Kong Land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which were a watered down version of Country. So.
And didn't this have like wireless linking, so you didn't need to have like
it
link
came
cables?
with the Fire Red and Leaf Green had wireless link cable. Well, I say link cables, but it has the wireless link cable adapter. That was the first. Yeah, it was first to have that, which was like, what the fuck? I could trade Pokemon without wires. It was
you
like,
need a tripping hazard to fucking battle and trade.
Dude, fucking 2000, was it 2002, 2003? That year was like insane.
And like this thing was ultimately portable. Kong said it, like the clamshell design. Oh my! You could put it in your pocket comfortably. I know the Game Boy Color, I could put it in my pocket, but I had to get that bitch in there. Yeah, but this one is like it protected the screen because it protected itself. I could throw it in my bag. I could put it in my pocket. You know, I'm on the bus, train, after school, just pop it out, play a little bit.
Not to
I
mention
still have one.
the Game Boy Advance SP or the Game Boy Advance and SP had like a fuckload of third-party support. There was like a ton of Dragon Ball games. There was a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh games. There was a ton of just like different like JRPGs and card games and just like spin-off games. There was a lot of
there
stuff.
was a lot of weird spin-off. Like I have a Dynasty Warriors game, and Dynasty Warriors is like a huge button mashing game. But this one's a strategy RPG. Like they were just like, we want a Dynasty Warriors game. Yeah, like we know we can't make our traditional Dynasty Warriors, so let's make something different for the GBA. So there's a lot of experimentation on it.
Yeah, that and even the Fire Emblem series they had as well. If I'm not mistaken, like what was it?
Oh yeah, the first two Fire Emblems. It was Sacred Stones and the original. Yeah. Or the one with Lyn. I say the original. It's not actually the first one. What was it called in Japan? Blazing Axe or something like that? I don't know. But in America, in North America, it was just Fire Emblem. And it was the one with Lyn and Hector and Ellawood. And Sacred Stones was with the brother and sister with like the light blue hair or whatever.
I have one. Yeah, it's called Well, mine's just called Fire Emblem, so I'm assuming it's
that's
the OG.
The first one. Yes, that's
the first one. Okay,
with Lyn and Hector and all those people.
Gotcha.
But,
okay.
Yeah, GBA was fucking godlike, and it still is. Like I can play GBA games and still have a grand old time. So.
Yeah.
All right. The Nintendo Wii.
Huh.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Not a lot of third-party support.
It suffers the same issues as the GameCube and N64. While it has strong first-party support, I think it had the weakest Zelda game. Right, first, Zelda
Twilight
game first
Princess?
appearing. No.
You mean
Skyward Sword, right? That was the Wii exclusive Zelda game to this console. Because Twilight was on GameCube and Wii. So there's that, right? Wii Sports was awesome, but it was a gimmick game, right?
Yeah.
Mario Galaxy was amazing.
Yes.
1 and 2 was amazing. Super Smash Brothers Brawl, I liked it. We had a great time with it, but that's considered one of the weakest Smash Brothers games over, compared to everything else because of the tripping and like some other issues. That's kind of it. Like the Wii was just the more for the casual audience.
Now let me bring this.
Go for it.
The Wii U was not the Wii U. Sorry, that's next.
We'll
the Wii was kind of during this era where online storefronts were becoming the norm. So the Wii had the eShop, and it had WiiWare games that were kind of exclusive to it. Does that bump it up anymore? It also had like classic games. Okay, because I came to the Wii very late, and because I'm a fucking Zelda simp, the Wii was just my Zelda Skyward Sword machine, and it was a disappointing Zelda game. So I was like, I kind of don't want to play this thing anymore. I used it as a GameCube, honestly. My Wii was a GameCube. Let's give it that. It did have backwards compatibility with the GameCube. True. It had 4 controller ports for the GameCube, so you could basically port your entire your GameCube library to the Wii.
Sure.
I think that still probably makes it a B. I don't know. Just
compared to the SP, which I just been informed by you guys because I either don't remember or didn't know. The SP was able to backwards compatible by like 2 generations, the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy. For this particular system, you was able to go back to GameCube games, but you had to rebuy old games just to play on this console. So it's like a sense, it's like, even though in this day and age we kind of sort of do it now because we're kind of sort of lazy or we don't have the current console to like nostalgia games that we play, but I would say it's a form of redundancy. Like I have to pay extra money to play a game that I already have. It's kind of it's kind of annoying. Like they could have done something with that. Like it could have had like a at the very top maybe a port to hold all different kinds of cartridges. Not the Super Nintendo. Well, it could have at least played Game Boy games or something. I don't know, but
What, the Wii?
yeah, the Wii. They could have at least played something like that.
I mean, the Game Boy, the GameCube was compatible with GBA games
Yeah, you had to have
via
that
like a
adapter
device. There was
thing.
an adapter you could
Yeah.
buy, but they
Yeah.
dropped all that with Wii because Wii, the gimmick with Wii was to try and like get this like large ocean like fucking audience with your grandma and your mom and your dad and all these people who don't play games with fucking Wii Sports and Wii Fit and all these other like gimmick games. Like, I mean, if you look back at the E3 conference during these years that the Wii was still like was still new, those were some of the most cringe-worthy fucking conferences ever in history, right? And it's because the Wii wasn't targeting us, like the core gamer audience, which is fine. Like that's it's business, but we're gamers at the end of the day, and we're making a tier list. So this is the Wii is a mid-tier console. Like it just is.
Yeah.
Even if you can port all your GameCube games to it, GameCube, we had like a 5 or 10 minute conversation about whether it was belonged in A or B, and it just made A tier, right?
Yeah.
So it's like Wii's in B tier. Like it's not moving.
No, I would disagree. Yeah, I would just say maybe there was some extenuating circumstances.
Plus, you needed the wand to even use the Wii and operate the Wii. You can't just use a Pro controller and just operate the menu.
Even when you got the Pro controller, you had to hook it up to the Wiimote.
To the fucking Wiimote, and you had to like wave it around or whatever to get to the fucking game.
If your room didn't have this space, you will have a bad time.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I was gonna say like a lot of hardware was not accessible to us at that time. Like it was a travesty playing Monster Hunter Tri because we had to get the Ethernet port.
Oh,
the
yeah.
connector for that. We had just to freaking communicate. We had to get some fucking attachment that allowed us to communicate with each other. I don't remember what the hell it was.
Oh, wasn't it like a speaker that was just like an open mic?
Speak. Yeah, it came with Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it was an open mic. So if anybody throw out gamer words, everybody's hearing that.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we had to get the Pro controller because there's no way in hell. I don't even think Monster Hunter was even playable with the Wiimote.
It was, but it was terrible.
Yeah, you had to play it on the side. Yeah, but God help you.
No, but you could play motion controls with it. I remember there being.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was like,
I'm good.
hell no.
Tried that.
Give me that Pro controller.
I just completely omitted it. I was like, nah, it's not even possible because if I'm not mistaken, I think Monster Hunter Tri came with a Pro controller. If you bought like the bundle,
you bought the deluxe edition, which I absolutely got. Yeah, it came with a black
same.
Pro controller with the handles because they had two different types. They had one that looked like a Super Nintendo controller because it had no handles on the side, and then there was the black one with the handles that came with Monster Hunter in North America, and then the white one was sold separately later with the handles on the side.
I got the one without the handles. I didn't know that there was a one with handles, so that's the one I ended up getting, and it was an enjoyable experience. But overall, the console, again, it falls on the I'm trying to be different, than my counterparts, and I don't get any heart.
And there is so much shovelware on this console. There are so many weird, shitty Candyland and fucking Gingerbread Man games. Like, there's so much of that shit. Let's Paint. Like, just such bullshit games. It's like, why was this ever a thing? So, this console is like, anybody who collects for this console, like, God bless you.
Good luck.
Like, Jesus Christ, you got a lot to fucking get.
Yeah.
But, I enjoyed the Wii for the gems that it did have, but it was very few. Like, the Wii is basically what I was arguing about the N64 before. Like, the Wii just has a few games, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing left to see here. So
it's pretty undisputable.
I think all the games for the Wii that were gems that I appreciated, I still have. Like Tatsunoko, I have
Xenoblade Xenoblade Chronicle. Well, not Chronicle. Xenoblade was on the Wii.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, is Xenoblade a system seller? No, but if you had one and you like JRPGs, Xenoblade is there.
And Xenoblade was ported to the 3DS and the Switch, so
Well, yeah, yeah.
That's true.
you know, sorry.
Yeah.
So that moves us to the DS, DS Lite, and DSi. So
Oh goodness.
DS Lite is
okay.
first.
So
DS
DS
Lite is in front
Lite,
of everybody.
then DSi, then DS. I think we could agree on that, right? I'm not leaving it in C. I'm just kind of putting them here.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the DS. Not the Lite. The DSi. That's the one with the front.
The
camera.
DSi is just a slimmer, like it's a little bigger than the DS Lite, but it has the camera gimmick on it. But it's more like the way it's shaped. It's like more squared. Like the edges are harder on it.
Yeah.
Whereas the DS Lite's a little smoother and a little sleeker. So I think DS Lite's a stronger design because the camera's
Yes.
whatever. The DS Lite is the strongest DS.
Agreed.
Is the strongest design of the DS console. I'm not including 3DS just yet, but
I think
I'm
that
gonna
shit might
say
be S tier. I think it's S tier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it up here, and then I'm gonna put these guys like back here, right?
I think that's fair.
Fuck.
Yeah.
This is such a monstrosity.
I never had the original, so I wasn't around for its launch. I came in the DS Lite era.
I don't know if it could be B. It gotta be because
whatever,
of the backlight in
whatever.
the
Just
power.
because, yeah, whatever. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, DS Lite is up here in the S tier class because this console is fucking amazing, and it's backwards compatible with GBA.
Yes,
which
the library
could
chef kiss.
Put it.
Well,
there.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, because it could still play. It has the backlight, the charger. I mean, yeah, it's the best in slot GBA, if you want to think of it like that.
Yeah. I guess we could agree with that. So, like, yeah, DS Lite is one of the best like portable consoles that Nintendo has ever produced. One of the best portable consoles that have ever been produced. Period. I think DS Lite is just the library's amazing. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of shovelware on that console. The Imagine games, the fucking Puppies 2, and My Zoo, and like bullshit like My Baby Boy. Like all that crap is on DS. Granted,
but it catered to us though. It kind of.
But it had a lot of stuff for us.
Oh man, it had the Phoenix Wright series. World Ends With You. Final Fantasy 3 was the first time Final Fantasy 3 ever came to the West, and it was on the DS. It had a port of fucking Chrono Cross. That's how I played Chrono Cross.
Yeah, I have that. I actually have that. No, not Chrono Cross. I have Chrono Trigger that's unopened.
Sorry, Chrono Trigger. Yeah, that's what I mean. Chrono Trigger.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Let me double check because I got all this old shit in my damn. Yeah, Chrono Trigger. Yeah.
You had Pokemon Black, White,
Diamond,
2.
Pearl.
Yeah, for you Pokemon
Pearl.
guys. Yeah.
Platinum was amazing. Oh my god. Shit. Whew.
A lot of the Mario and Luigi RPG started there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bowser's Inside Story, Superstar Saga, I believe. No. Or was that 3DS? I'm probably
Superstar Saga. That might be 3D.
That-
I know
that's 3DS.
Bowser's Inside Story is 100% DS.
Yeah.
Okay. They had the they had Zelda basically. They had Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass.
Spirit Trap, Phantom Hourglass.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think that was Zelda games for the DS. Yeah.
It was those two. Yeah, they had a port of Mario 64. They had a lot of tactics games on this that played really well. Drone Tactics, Lost Magic was fun. They had a lot of like interesting like new IPs. Contra 4 was on this. I remember playing that a ton.
Skya.
Was the Sky on this?
Sky, the first one, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know
I think
that.
it was 1 and 2.
A Metal Slug type game that was only it's stuck on DS. It's called Commando Disaster or Disaster Commando. Fucking great Metal Slug style
always
game.
wanted to play that.
Such a great fucking game. Pretty challenging too. It's very expensive now to get, but great fucking game. DS has some good stuff, man. I'm still collecting for DS to this day. whenever I go into like a retro game store, I always hit the DS section because you never know what you're gonna see there. You know.
Oh yeah, Advance Wars: Days of Ruin,
Oh,
which was
true,
like the
yeah.
last Advance Wars, Custom Robo Arena.
The
Yeah,
other
library was
Castlevania games were on this
massive.
too, the RPG like
Yeah.
ones. There
Mirrors
was
of
like
Fate.
3. There was something portrait. Damn, I forget the taglines, but
I think
there was
I think
3
they
of
had
them on
Mirrors
there.
of Fate. I think Mirrors of Fate was one of them because that was during the Lords of Shadow.
No, that was on 3DS. That was on 3DS.
Damn. Okay.
Oh, Mega Man ZX, if that's your thing.
True.
Oh yeah, Mega Man. Yeah.
Yeah, we got Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, which was Marv's game. That was the first time we got it in North America.
Wow.
Yeah. At least my personal collection. Those are some of the standout ones.
That's what it was called. Dawn of Sorrow. This one is Order of Ecclesia, something like that.
I never played those.
And then Portrait of Ruin. Yeah, those are pretty good. I didn't finish any of them. I just played them for a bit, but they were pretty solid. Yeah, DS was really really good. All right. So
Monster
moving on from the
Hunter.
DS, Wii U, right over.
Really? I don't know. I'd say C. I don't think it's that bad.
Right,
no,
C, yeah. It did have Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. It did have Zombie U, which is pretty fun on the Wii U specifically. It did have it did introduce Splatoon. That was the first Splatoon console. Or the first
Tropical
console
Freeze,
was on. Tropical
the
Freeze, true. Hold on.
Things.
New Super Mario
Mad
Brothers
World.
is good.
No, that was
Wii. That was Wii.
Yeah,
Damn it.
Mario Brothers.
There was something else that was good on Wii U. Shit.
They ported over Wind Waker.
True.
Yeah. Was it also Wonderful 101? Was that?
Yes, Wonderful 101. Bayonetta.
Sure.
No, not Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 2.
Well, you know what? I think we could put it above the Wii because the Wii was technically backwards compatible, right, on the Wii U.
Yeah, because it was DVD,
But,
same thing. Yeah.
I think the Wii should go first because
it's backwards compatible to GameCube. So yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Wii U design was just dumb. I don't care. You could fight me on that. It was like a box that just looked it looked like a portable DVD, and then it had this huge fucking iPad thing that needed a separate charger. So you needed like separate wires.
okay. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing for me. I am annoyed with how it looks. However, I appreciated it. Living in a household full of people that occupied a TV, I was able to get my gaming on by playing with that controller. So I appreciate it. Me personally,
I feel like
welcome,
low B
you know?
is fair because I did play this a lot, and it was like you could go on the internet with it, so I would watch YouTube and stuff on it. So like I don't know, I like the Wii U. I think this console had a lot of potential, and I mean this is the prototype to the Switch, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it
it
did
had
have
Xenoblade Chronicles X. I love that game.
So it had, that's the other game I guess I was trying to find. It did have a Fisher Price design. Like it felt just flimsy and just like plastic. Like if you think of a plastic console, you think of the Wii U gamepad. Like it was just it wasn't the best. But Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate was like I got a lot of mileage on this with that game alone. So I'll put it in low B. I think low B is fine. Could we agree on that on Wii U?
I'll give it that. Yeah.
All right. Now it gets complicated. 3DS.
I was dreading
3DS
when we got to the
XL,
part.
2DS XL. Now amongst these three, history lesson. So when 3DS first came out, it had a very weak launch.
Yes.
So
100%.
the first few years of 3DS's lifespan was very just grim. Plus, personal note, Mega Man Legends 3 was announced for this console, never came out, which fucking pains me because I bought this on launch day because I anticipated that game coming out on it. However, it became a better console by the time the new 3DS XL was available. So, go ahead.
I will put the new 3DS, which is the final, not counting the 2DS XL because that's the same thing. The new 3DS, which is the final iteration of the DS, I'm gonna be real. That shit's an S for me because
I could agree with that.
like the games on that shit are great. Fucking Etrian Odyssey, not one. Etrian Odyssey 4, 5. No, Etrian Odyssey 5, Nexus, Legends Untold, and Untold 2. Fucking amazing games. The Shimigami games, Shimigami Tensei 4, Devil Survivor 2, and Soul Hackers, amazing games. Did I just buy those recently? Yeah, but I always wanted them. They're great games. They ported over Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time.
A lot like we had remakes of Gold, Silver, Alpha, Ruby, Sapphire.
The Fire Emblem series was revived on that console. With Fire Emblem Awakening.
Monster Hunter 4.
Monster Hunter 4. Monster Hunter Generations to a lesser extent. Yeah.
Oh, shit. That kind of reminds me back on the Wii U. We could bring that shit down because Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate was also on the goddamn 3DS.
Yeah, true.
It was, but it was not backwards. No, I mean, it was not crossplay. So the Wii U version was technically the superior version to play it on. No, because that's why I didn't play with you guys. I didn't play with you guys because I didn't have a Wii U at the time. I wasn't going to get one. And I was going to get the 3DS version, but then you guys informed me that it was not crossplay. So I couldn't join you guys at the time.
So you could transfer your save data.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Back and forth, but like if let's say you were playing on the Wii U version and Gunnar was on the 3DS version, we'd have to downgrade to the 3DS version to hunt together.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the issue. Yeah.
And it was just so convoluted, and the majority of you guys, enough to make up a full hunting team, or at least like 95% of one, was already on the Wii U. So I was like, I'm not going to expect everybody to come over for me. So I would keep the Wii U where it is because of that, based on the point that you just mentioned.
Gotcha.
But me personally, the 3DS XL, the last iteration of the 3DS, top tier system. I love that. I am playing it currently right now in 2023.
Yeah, but my only complaint with the handheld is the fact that the initial build didn't have a second analog stick, and second analog sticks was pretty prominent in the 3D sphere for all platforms, whether it was Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. And they did fix that with the new 3DS and 3DS XL, but I hated that nub. I hate it. And to roll it back a bit, when Monster Hunter came out, they did give you that attachment for the extra analog stick, but that was a bit weird. I've never had an analog stick that was a right analog stick that went past the regular buttons. Is usually either on top or bottom of it, so it kind of threw me off. But yeah, fast forwarding back to the new 3DS.
I like the 3DS boat. That's what I called it. The boat attachment.
It was an adjustment because I wasn't used to having your regular button scheme to the left of the analog stick.
What I'm about to say is going to sound crazy, but I actually prefer, if we're playing like Monster Hunter 3 or 4 on 3DS, I actually prefer playing on the best control format for me. And it could be just because I have 8 hands, but the original 3DS with the boat attachment was the best. Like, even with the nub on the 3DS, the new 3DS XL, it was fine. Like, I was able to adjust to it, but the boat attachment was perfect. Like, it was just the right girth, it wasn't a nub, it was another, stick similar to the one that came on the 3DS. That was just like perfect for me. So
no, you're not crazy with that because the attachment was the same size as the original analog, the left analog stick. So it made a lot of sense. My thing was that it was just the placement that just threw me off.
That's fair.
And I'm also used to having my handhelds in cases. In order for me to use the attachment, I would have to remove it from the case, which allows it to become more vulnerable to drops and shit like that. And you know how I am. I'm very meticulous with my handhelds.
Yeah.
So there was that. But yeah, I agree. It's a phenomenal system. It had a very strong library. It was backwards compatible with the DS games.
Yep.
It and you know, even though I did say earlier with the whole store thing, but at this moment in time, you know, where people probably didn't have their consoles anymore due to moves, being older, garage sales, whatever, it did allow you to have console games in handheld content, you know, in handheld form. So you were able to get some of these NES games, some of these Super Nintendo games, et cetera, in a portable setting. So it was pretty awesome with that.
Yeah, I love the 3DS. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite portable systems. One of my favorite systems, personally.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
3DS is fantastic. And one more point that I want to make, because I've owned each version of the 3DS, and I've had extensive playtime with each of them. I'm gonna say, in my personal opinion, the best version of the 3DS is actually the 2DS XL. This one is extremely comfortable. And I love the 3DS XL, but it's very like it's called an XL for a reason. It's so big. And like putting in your pocket, it fits, but it's so cumbersome. Whereas the 2DS, it gets rid of the 3D feature, which nobody ever used anyway.
I wish they would have released this so much sooner, man.
For sure. This is the DS Lite to the 3DS family of systems, in my opinion. The 2DS XL is everything the 3DS is, but in a more sleek, more comfortable design, and it's just the most superior console in that line of consoles, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wish I bought
that's just
one.
It's so good. It's so good.
I never owned one, but I do see where, in comparison, it's like the SP to the Game Boy Advance line. Like it's foldable,
it's
easy to fit in your pocket.
Fuck it, I love this. I mean, I have, when I first bought it, I bought it in this color, the blue and black. But I sold it because I didn't need it anymore. And I had the Monster Hunter 3DS, so I was like, I can just play on that. But man, like, I was like, I need this shit back. Like, just to play anything but Monster. Like, if I'm not gonna play Monster Hunter, and I'm just gonna play other stuff, I'd rather play on here. So I found a purple and silver one. I got it for real cheap for like
nice.
I think it was like $100 or $90 or something like that. So I jumped all over it. But I do want to get it in this color again because I really like the black and blue. So
yeah, I've never owned the 2D any of the 2DS lines. I think there was only one, right? Only one 2DS.
Well, there's the original 2DS,
the original one,
which is at the bottom.
I would never want to own that. Yeah, that was like
this console.
That's for kids. It's for kids.
Yeah. It's only in A tier because it's a part of the 3DS family. It's the only reason. Otherwise, it'd be down here. Yeah. Because this console, A, doesn't fold. B, is super cumbersome. The screens are smaller. This is the dummy-proof 2DS or 3DS.
This is the thing you stick into like one of those Nerf cases, and it's like, all right, my kid has to set this thing on fire for it to break.
Yeah. So this was a terrible design. I hated this thing. But, it wasn't meant for me or any gamers like me. It was meant for like the youngest demographic of gamers. Yeah. It was fine for Pokemon and games like that, but like any other adventure game, like could you imagine playing Monster Hunter on this fucking thing? Fuck that.
Like, where are the shoulder buttons?
They're up
there.
The top.
Oh, they're all the way at the top. Yeah.
Oh Jesus! Like, no,
this thing is a Frankenstein.
I glossed over that one. I had like the original blue 3DS, but then when the XL came out, I was like, yes, I want that because it was bigger, it was more comfortable. My hands are freaking large, so it worked for me. Then they started getting the new 3DS they had the 3DS, new 3DS, and then they had the new 3DS XL. I skipped over the regular new 3DS and went for the XL. And I have all of them because I have like the special edition ones. I have the Pokemon, and I have like I have the two Pokemon, I have the Metroid, and I have the two Zeldas. So yeah, I have a problem. Um, but I love those consoles. Never experienced the new 2DS, but based on what I see, that would be my travel system
Yeah,
for the 3DS.
I'd recommend it. So we're down to the main event, and I don't think I'm going to get any pushback if I put this right the fuck up here.
Oh, that was actually bolder than I thought you would do. I didn't think you were gonna put it before the SNES and NES.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
I was gonna say after the SNES, but as a mainline Switch user, I ain't gonna say no to that.
I mean, okay.
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay. I'm all for it simply because I feel like it's capturing the essence of what the NES and the SNES is today. Like it has a tremendous amount of support. It compiled pretty much all the components of each system that it went through and made this awesome of a system. It has a lot going for it. It's portable, so it kind of merged with the console and handheld dynamic. Again, did I mention support? Like you have a lot of indie support. You're getting a lot of third-party support for it. I mentioned earlier that the SNES and the NES are juggernauts, but this shit is like the king juggernaut.
Isn't it like the third best-selling console of all time currently?
Correct. Yep.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
And I feel like
I mean, crazy. It doesn't run at 4K. It's so out of date. It's so obsolete. It's crazy. Wow.
But arguably, and I don't know if I would get pushback for it, it had the best launch title ever in the history of any consoles being released. The best launch title ever. Breath of the Wild was it topples over any launch title that was introduced with a system, period. End of story. That's my fact.
Yeah, that's a full stop. Nintendo Switch, I think, is. I mentioned this about the Super Nintendo earlier. That it's one of the greatest consoles ever created. I think the Nintendo Switch is in that conversation. I think the Switch is destined to surpass the PlayStation 2 for greatest console ever created because it has a huge, massive, gargantuan library that is ever growing. Right, it has access to online to like digital games as well, so that library is even bigger. It has expandable memory, so you could put a micro SD card in there, 1 terabyte, and go nuts and just download everything. Now, is the system perfect? No, the Joy-Cons are flawed. The interface is flawed. Right, the whole like just square straight across.
Yeah,
that needs work.
You can't make folders like the way I want to. Damn it!
So it has its flaws. It's not perfect, but fuck, is it a great console? And in addition to all that, it will age tremendously well because all of the games are on the cartridge, don't require day one download. Right, so in 20, 30 years from now, if you have a Switch cartridge, you have the game. Period. Right, and you could take it on the go. You can play. You could detach the Joy-Cons if you need to. If you have stick drift or anything like that, if you get stick drift or a jammed button in any of these other handhelds that we mentioned, you got to get it repaired. Whereas you don't have to worry about that with the Nintendo Switch. The Switch Lite, I think, is a great alternative to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I've seen it. It actually is
it's a very comfortable console. It's really good. I bought it when it first came out in yellow. Still have it. I still use it. That's my bedtime console. That's where I play when I'm in bed or whatever. It's that's what I use, right?
Okay.
So I think the Switch is incredible. I don't think Nintendo has to create another console right away. I think they will.
There's rumors floating around that I've read.
Yeah, but like they don't have to.
I don't think it's anytime soon because if you looked at what they announced, they're announcing stuff for like 2024.
Yeah.
So,
if the earliest we'll get it is holiday 2024, I think. Go ahead, Esoteric. Go ahead.
Here's my thing, right? Let's hear it. I do not. Okay, I personally do not have an issue mostly with the Switch's hardware. Why? Because it forces developers to simplify. They're not gonna put all these super big ass cutscenes in a game. They're gonna focus on gameplay, and their software and hardware is universal enough that any company can take this console and make a pretty solid game on it. Simplicity is key. Nintendo has proven that thousands of times. Like the one thing that Nintendo has had over any other console, despite whether it's a success or unsuccess, is gameplay. They've always had gameplay in their games.
Quality gameplay at that.
Yeah, quality. So they knew what they were doing. They this time they hit the mark. They did experiment a little bit with having a hybrid system, which works seamlessly, I might add. You pop out the system, it works like the game instantly comes onto the screen. You place it in, it instantly comes back onto the TV. It has your traditional button scheme, the two analogs. You have the four regular buttons, the D-pad. You also have, which they added later on in the years, the trigger buttons as well as the bumper buttons on the top. So they made a good system, and the games are phenomenal. They're playable. They're enjoyable, most importantly, and they hit us with the heaviest ever launch title. Like, what more do you want? I mean, what more do you want? Yes, it doesn't have 4K graphics. Yes, whatever, blah, 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 this and the third. But honestly, in this day and age, like, does it really matter?
Depends. I mean,
it depends on who you ask, right? Some people say it does matter to them, and that's fine. Like, but that's a minority. Those are the hyper, like, my game's got to run at fucking 120 FPS or whatever. It's like, all right, dude, whatever. Like, sure, leave that guy over there. That's fine. That's that's a different kind of person we're talking about. Yeah. Most people are fine with what the Nintendo Switch can do. Yeah. I think the only way that they could top this design. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run you over there. Yeah. The only way that they could top this design is if they can figure out how to fold the screen to mimic the DS. If they can do that, it's a fucking wrap. It's a wrap. Like,
yeah, I mean, I would like, because the Switch is portable, like the Steam Deck is portable. I can move it from place to place, but it's a little bit. It's no SP. It is cumbersome. It's no DS. It is cumbersome. Like you're not like on mass transit or like in a car. Well, maybe a car ride. But let's say you're on the bus or train and you got like, I'm trying to get to Grand Central and that's like a good 20-30 minute train ride. I would not realistically bust out a Switch and start playing it. A 3DS, yeah, sure, because I can like do a hunt, right, in Monster Hunter 4. And then it's like, oh, we're here. And then just close it, put it in my pocket, and I'm out. Without missing my stuff. I can't do that with the Switch because then I got to take out my case. I got to put it back in. I got to zip the case up. I'm like, like Kong said, if they could make it a little bit more friendly in the portable department, I'm cool with. If not, it's fine because me personally, I don't use mine as a portable console, but I like the fact that it's there. I like the fact that's an option. I can't take my PlayStation 4 or when I get it, my PlayStation 5 with me. I mean, you could, but it's way too cumbersome. The Switch just needs a case, a couple games in there, and you're good if you're going on like a long trip or something.
And that's the thing, right? It is portable in a sense of like, if you want to take your game with you and you're going from one stationary place to the other, you're pretty much good in that department. However, it's a bit cumbersome, as you stated, where during the traveling period, because again, there's a whole bunch of nuances where you have to put it in the case. I mean, this is assuming that you care about your console and you don't want anything to happen to it.
I mean, you can just throw that shit in your bag if you want. That's you. Do you? I mean,
yeah, but that's not me. I like to protect my stuff. Insurance is key. But yeah, you have to put it in the case. You have to, put it away and things like that. And it gets annoying. But my thing is, I think this is the best that they can do. When I think of the Switch being foldable, I'm honestly thinking of like that phone that came out that
Mhm.
has like a big screen and you have to open it and close it.
Yeah, it's like a Samsung phone. At least I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and people had a lot of issues with it because the screen kind of like um has this ripple effect where the screen is kind of like sort of coming up due to the folding. So I think I think for the Switch it's as good as it's going to be. Um
Probably. I mean, but the folding screen is technology that exists. It's only going to improve as they continue to test and like figure out what works and what doesn't work. So eventually, I think it can be done, right? Like presumably, I don't know, but
I think so
I,
too.
I hope it can. I think it can be done. I hope it's done. If it's not, that's okay. Like I don't even use my Switch outside personally. Only if I'm gonna go on like a long plane ride or something like that, then I'll use a Switch. But like on train or bus, it has to be a really long train ride for me to like
Yeah.
consider it. Um, what else? I was gonna say some other stuff about the Switch, but I forget. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've said everything that I need to, but and also, the fact that I mean, I know you can homebrew it now, but like in time, the modding community is gonna figure out how to like bypass whatever security Nintendo puts up, and this thing is gonna be a fucking monster uh, homebrew device where you can play everything that we've talked about in this entire podcast. You're gonna be able to play it on this thing in the future seamlessly, no problems, right? And the fact that Valve created the Steam Deck, which is basically a Switch, and now PlayStation has Project Q or whatever it is, that little streamable fake ass PlayStation Switch, right?
Yeah.
The fact that they're biting this console so hard, right, tells you how successful this thing is, and they're not going to be able to touch it because the
they
Steam
wanted
Deck,
to tell you that portable market is dead, but it's not dead.
It's really not.
But it
Yeah.
pisses me off though. It pisses me off, especially with Sony, because they had the formula. They just fumbled the ball. Like the Vita was a great handheld
Vita's
console.
awesome. Yeah, the Vita's a great console.
It was phenomenal. The issue is that y'all want to do the same stupid shit that y'all did with the PSP.
And then the proprietary memory cards. Yeah, that's what killed them.
Yep.
It's like it was just dumb. And then y'all tried to take a page out of Nintendo's book with the PSP by using proprietary discs like UMDs. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But they had the formula and then they just dropped it. And now you're using this ugly ass handheld looking console thing. I don't know what the hell it is.
It's just a streaming thing. You could stream your PlayStation 5 on it. That's it.
So it doesn't work as a standalone device. Like your PlayStation 5 has to be on, has to be connected to the internet, has to be streaming whatever content you want to play on it, and you have to be on that device, connected to the internet, and you have to basically cloud stream it. Basically, your PlayStation 5 is like a server, and it's feeding the content to your handheld device.
That is so dumb because Microsoft cut out the middleman. Like, I don't need the Series X to play Xbox games on my Samsung television. If you have a smart TV, you have Xbox Game Pass.
Correct.
And all I needed was an Xbox controller. Why are you making unnecessary hardware? Like,
because people will buy it, I think. And it's supposed to retail, this is rumors, $200 to $300.
Yeah, they could keep that.
So we'll see how that pans out for Sony.
I mean, people keep dunking on the Switch, but it's just doing so well, and it's just like, sure, I will agree if it's a multi-platform game, the Switch tends to perform on the weaker side compared to like the PlayStation 4, Xbox, and now 5 and Series X. Sure, and okay, if you can make an argument that if you want to play those multi-platform games, play it on a PlayStation. I play it on the Switch because I mainline the Switch. That's my main console. So I understand if I get a game, it might not run at 30 consistently. Okay, I can live with that. But if we take away the third-party stuff and just look at, a lot of the first-party support this thing has and the dedicated third-party support, games like Shin Megami Tensei only on the Nintendo Switch, and in my opinion, that game runs and looks amazing. So it's just like, the Switch can do it, but if you're just trying to appeal to the multiple console demographic, you're not specializing in the Switch. If you specialize for the Switch, you can make a game that looks great and performs great.
Oh, I forgot to
So-
mention the all the classic games you could play on that. All the Nintendo Online, Super Nintendo, Nintendo, now Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games that you can play on here. Eventually,
And
I'm sure we'll get
N64, yeah.
N64, Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
Eventually, we're gonna get GameCube, right? So
probably, yeah.
the fact that it could do that too, and that's a package deal with the online membership. That's only $20 a year, by the way. 50 for like the premium membership. That's really good, man. That's good value. So I don't know.
It really is. It's great value. And to piggyback off of Gunner's point, I think what the masses fail to realize is that our technology isn't there yet, where we can micro certain components of hardware and make it in the form factor of the Nintendo Switch. At least to my knowledge, right? I could be wrong. I'm not no technology buff or whatever. But it's like, let's say if they were to answer these people, like the lesser population that's complaining about it, answer their prayer, right? I'm gonna assume that the Nintendo is going to look as big as the Steam Deck. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my Steam Deck, but it's a hassle to carry around.
I mean, yeah, there's some concessions you have to make because the Steam Deck has what, maybe like 4-5 hours of battery life on a good day. I don't know. I know it's kind of low.
Depending on what you're playing too. Like if you're playing, like let's say if you're using it as an emulation station, right? PS3 games are gonna run maybe about 2 to 3 hours on a good day, right? Because I was playing Demon Souls on mine, and I was only getting that much. But if you're playing like 16-bit, 64-bit games, like Nintendo 64 down or GameCube down or whatever, you're gonna get a lot more longevity in it. But it's like
I mean, I'm all for competition, right? If the Steam Deck causes Nintendo to maybe step their game up a little bit, which I don't think it will, because look, third highest selling system in history. Do they really
It's not
need
slowing
to?
down either. Like
Do they need to though? It's just like it just shows that it's quality over quantity, and it's just like your game can look amazing. If it sucks, it's going to end up in the bargain bin.
Yep.
Does Nintendo inflate that because a lot of their first parties never go on sale? Absolutely.
But they're just that damn good. Like they have a luster to them of like longevity, where I can pick up almost any Nintendo game from like exclusive Nintendo from NES till now, maybe 10, 15, 20 years down the line, and still have that enjoyable experience. It's really hard to say that for other games at times. It's really difficult. Like almost literally almost every 3 to 4 years, picking up Golden Sun again and playing it, or Link to the Past, or Super Metroid. Like they're great games, and they live pretty long. Like they're long lasting. I don't know.
I agree. Yeah.
Switch is king. Again, it's not. Is it the best console ever? It depends on what you're looking for, but I think for most people, it scratches a lot of different itches. With little to no issue, with little to no resistance. I think the Nintendo Switch is destined to be the best-selling console of all time, as well as the console that I think most people will collect for and enjoy for years, decades to come. Nintendo nailed it. If it's one thing that you could take away from this podcast, and I know, like, just looking at the tier list, like, some people might look at this and go, wow, some Nintendo fucking fanboys over here. But, like, I don't. It's not fanboyism, because I was a Sega kid growing up and a PlayStation kid growing up, but I can say that Nintendo, listen, what keeps them around and keeps them, very much so alive is their first party support, is their quality games. They always have quality games, which is why their games never really lose value and probably never will. So
yeah, I never hear that argument from like the hashtag gamers, and it's like, sure, I guess, but like they never talk about the quality titles that the system has. Always like, oh, it dips below 20. Fucking shit console. It's like I
That's
can't.
some new age shit. That's like,
Yeah, it's like
I don't get it. Like I've met people that like, oh, I want to check out this Horizon game because of the graphics and the story and how real the characters look. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face, bro. Like, you are such a bandwagoner. Like, you're not gaming for the real reasons. Like, you're just here because it's the cool thing. It's like the flavor of the month or whatever. I don't want.
Yeah, like
I don't talk to these people. Like, I don't. These people are thinking on a different wavelength. I'm not even gonna bother. True gamers know what's up. They know they can look at this tier list and they don't even have to listen to the whole podcast to understand the thought that went into each placement of like all of these consoles. So whatever, it's fine.
yeah, and even if you took out, because most of these consoles were a part of our childhood, even if you took away that component, like I think I would still have, if I were to take any of these games right now, any of these consoles right now, let me take the Game Boy for instance, and you gave it to me to play, I think I would have the same enjoyable experience because it's like, oh shit, it's actual gameplay. I'm actually playing something. I'm not watching a 20-hour cutscene. I'm not looking at the graphics to determine how many strands of hair the character has on their balls as opposed to like, this shit is it's annoying, man. It's really annoying, and I think people forget that games are meant to be interactive, not spectated, basically. Like, you're meant to play
it can
the
be
game.
spectated, but like it's as far as the individual experience goes, it's supposed to be you in the driver's seat, not you in
Yeah.
the passenger seat. That's what
Yeah.
movies are for. But
yeah, which a lot of games are nowadays. So I guess comes full circle.
Joke's on me, huh?
No, I think this is pretty fair for the most part. I mean, R.I.P. Virtual Boy, you tried, man, you tried, but I think you were just a little bit too ahead of your time. VR is now. I mean,
and you have a couple of other systems that didn't make the cut, like micro Game Boy, whatever, or whatever it's called.
yeah, I mean a micro SP. It's
wasn't needed.
It's the PlayStation Go of the Nintendo line.
Yeah.
It's a cool little novelty, but
not to mention, like, people are like praising PlayStation 5 and Sony right now for like their first party support. And don't get me wrong, those first party games are great in their own right. But like, I could still get God of War 2018 for under $20. You can't say that about Breath of the Wild. Can't.
Yeah, you can't even say that about Mario Odyssey. And how long did that game come out?
You cannot. You cannot. I could get Horizon Zero Dawn, $10-$12. No problem. Right? Can't say that about Mario Party, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, Metroid, any of the Zelda games. Can't say that. Even bullshit like fucking Wii Sports and 1-2 Switch. Like, even those games retain value.
yeah.
So don't.
I mean, what about the Pokemon games? Like,
I
how
don't
the
even
hell
want to
are
talk
the
about
used
Pokemon
games
games.
are more expensive than the new games?
They're fucking like they're exploding in value, and they're gonna continue to explode in value. Can't stop it. Fucking DS Pokemon games used to retail at $40. Remember that?
$39.99.
That was back then. That's how much you pay for it brand new day one. Now these same games are like upwards of $100. Just the cartridge. It's crazy. It's more than doubled its value easily.
Damn.
It's insane, dude. So like, and it's not like some people might hit me with the argument of, oh well, you could get God of War 2018 or Spider-Man 2018 because those games sold so many. There's so many in circulation. The difference is that those games, once you beat them, you're done. You're not going back to them most likely. Whereas something like Pokemon X for something like that, these games have replay value. You can go back and play them over and over again, and not have fun. You know what I mean? Same with the Mario games. Yeah. Same with the Zelda games. Same with the Metroid. You know why? Because these games have quality game design. Period.
Yeah.
You can't deny it, and they've been doing it for decades. Can't deny it.
mean,
Go on
that's
Twitch
why
right now,
this-
you get people still playing first time playthrough of Mario 64. To this day. That game came out in 1996, dude. 96. And people are
And what
still
about
discovering things about that game to this day. What the fuck?
and what
Can't
about
say that shit
tournaments?
about fucking
Smash
God of
Brothers
War
Melee.
or Halo or any other
Melee.
any other first party, Microsoft or Sony game. Can't say that. Those games don't age the same.
and
They just
even
don't.
then, like those games are going to PC, so Sony's just like giving up their exclusivity
That's true too.
to PC. It's like, bro, you want to play Zelda officially? I'll put that as a caveat. You want to officially play Zelda? You're only doing that on an official Nintendo system.
Period. Full stop.
And I know this is like a long-winded session, a long-winded podcast, but one thing I would like to add too is that Nintendo is the master of recycling their content. Like whatever you've seen on an NES, like Mario game, you're going to see that on a Switch. Whatever you saw in a GameCube game of, like, let's say Luigi's Mansion, is going to revisit on the next Luigi Mansion. I guarantee it. Like, they are so used to taking their older mechanics that made their games great and revamping them to modernize for whatever console they're on. Like every Mario game that was a remake, well, let me not say every, but most of them were a new experience. There was something new added to it to change the game entirely. So I got to give it to them for being able to recycle their content and make it modernized.
Yep, 100%. I agree. Anyway, this was a long episode. I thought it was going to be shorter, but then we kind of got lost in some of the weeds here. So apologies for that. But if you've made it this far, thank you for your viewership. Thank you for listening. Hopefully you gleaned some entertainment from our conversations about the various Nintendo consoles that have existed over the years. If you just disagree with our tier list and you want to move things around, let us know in the comment section. If you agree with it, give the video a like, right? Subscribe for more content. We do podcasts like this every single week. We publish every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We do episodes on tier lists like this. These are all longer episodes. Sometimes we have hour-long conversations about various modern controversial game topics or our favorite insert category of gaming here. We have all kinds of conversations here, so definitely check out our other content and subscribe so that you're notified when we publish new stuff. Also, we have different social medias as well. So we have a Facebook, a Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We also run a Discord. All the links will be in the description down below. Follow Mr. Esoteric on Twitch, Logical Gamers TV. He streams 2 to 3 times a week. Streams a variety of different games, fighting games, adventure games, RPGs, indie games, you name it, he does it. So definitely check him out, show him some support. With that being said, guys, thank you for a great conversation. Hopefully the viewers and listeners have enjoyed it as well. We'll catch you in the next one.
Till next time.
Take care.